on?
I'm here with Taz. He's a handsome fellow. This is Taz, and this is his roadmap to success. Now, basically, we started off the session like I often do, going through a lot of fundamentals. We introduced a marker word. His marker word is yes. His guardians had kind of a marker word of good before, but because they were using it at times, not marking behaviors that are new, I suggested a new one. So by the time you guys see this, you should have already walked around the house. You're probably going to have to do most of the marking since your partner is going to be out of town. So walk around the house with about 20 treats or a piece of kibble. Yes, treat. Go to the next room. Yes, treat, or about every 5 or 10 steps. Do that for about 20 treats, then wait at least an hour, and then do the next time. Do it with the clicker, and you do whatever order you want. But you want to do 6 with 20 treats with the clicker, 6 times with 20 treats with yes. You're done when you click, and he's off camera, but he snapped his head around. So he's a smart dog. He's already picking up on this. We just want to build as much value as we can. That's something once you're done, you don't have to do that anymore. Now we get to use it. We used it, we went over the celebrate game. Celebrating is rewarding the dog when it offers desired behaviors that we do not ask for. Right now he's jumping up in his guardian's lap a little bit. His guardians do a good job of ignoring. So right there, he sat down, his guardian said yes, and he is petting him. You can pet or give a treat. Now, I generally give treats for when it's a higher, like if you have guests or other dogs or things like that, but we should be doing this so often, most of the reward's gonna be just a pet. So tell each other celebrate. If you see that Taz does something near your partner and you miss it, say celebrate. They just need to say yes and pet under the chin. Don't ask, don't work for a treat, just pet as soon as you can. But try to be mindful. So if Taz walks up to you, say yes and pet him. He drops something, yes. He lays on the tile here. He drinks his water. Whatever it is that you find desirable. Get into a habit of doing that, and the more you celebrate, the more he's going to offer those particular behaviors. And after a while, you won't even realize the fact you're doing it, but every time you pet him, it becomes a micro dog training session that you're not even aware of. Now, he also needs some help with his boundaries and his leader-follower dynamic. So right now, he's kind of whining a little bit. He wants some attention from his dad. His dad could ask him to boop. His dad could ask him to lay down. His dad could ignore him as whatever he wants to do. He doesn't, just because he wants attention all the time doesn't mean he always has to get it. But I generally try to, if the dog's going to offer nuisance behavior, and he's a very determined breed of dog, probably he's going to continue whining until he gets what he wants, and then we're eventually giving in. I noticed the guardians were accidentally rewarding him when he's barking. They would say no bark. And so for him, I bark and then I get attention, trains him to bark. This is what a lot of people do. So by celebrating, now we're going to tip the scales the other direction. We're going to reward him for the things that he does that we like. And eventually, hopefully, you should offer those. So when he does, make sure you reward those. The other side of the coin is the manners lesson, I call it. And the manners lesson is basically rewarding him or redirecting him. So if he jumps up on me, he's saying, hey man, I want some attention. I'm gonna say boop to get him to go down, or I'm just gonna freeze, and when he gets down, then I'm gonna tell him to do something else. If you freeze and he gets down, don't pet him for getting down, because he'll think that I jump up, get down, and get the reward. So he does an unwanted behavior, we're gonna tell him to do something once. Boop, sit, whatever it is. If he does it, we say yes and reward him. If he doesn't do it, we freeze and look up at the ceiling and just disengage until he gets down. When he gets down, then ask him to do another cue, but only ask him one time. The more you say it, the less you mean it. So get out of a habit of repeating yourself, because you're actually giving more reward for not listening to you and less reward for actually listening. So manners is the watchword I use for that. So if somebody comes in the room and Taz is on top of me, I'm petting him. Even if I invited him up, I would stop petting him, tell him boop or down. He gets down, I'd say sit, yes, and I would tell my partner. Actually, I asked him to jump up on me. I invited him, but thank you, because I do forget sometimes to do that. Be mindful of what you're petting. Whatever he's doing right before you're petting him is what you're reinforcing. And if there's a punishment or a negative that happens afterwards, he meets somebody and then I get a timeout, for example, like we talked about, then meeting people means I get a timeout. He doesn't quite understand the same grasp. Just punishing dogs just does not work the same as it does for us. Even for us, it doesn't work all that great. For dogs, it really doesn't work very well. Now, if he's doing unwanted behaviors, you can use your pause interrupter. He seemed to respond best to the puppy, puppy, puppy. Now, some people will go around and say puppy, 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 and give him a treat and walk around your house, the same way we did for the clicker and for yes, but he responded pretty well for that. Now, let's say he is looking at the window and there's a dog about to come by and you can tell he's getting that posture, he's gonna do it. You go, puppy, puppy, puppy. He looks at you. We're not giving him attention, we're just making an interesting sound. He looks at us, we say boop, he runs over here, touches his nose to our hand. We give him a treat, pet, or attention, and then we're gonna put some carrots on the floor. Let him chew some carrots. Give him a collagen stick, a new cow kneecap. Take him for a walk, play fetch, close the doors. Otherwise, he's gonna go back to doing the thing that he was doing before. I'm not saying you can't say no to your dog. I'm just saying no to your dog doesn't work the way that you want it to work. So using your pause interrupter and then redirecting him away is a much more effective way of dealing with unwanted behaviors. Let me see, we didn't really get into this too much, but I also asked my clients, what rules does the dog have? Most people will take a while to think about it and realize that they have no rules for their dog. So rules are a great way for the dog to practice impulse control. I can't be expected not to run out the door, jump up on people if I haven't practiced restraining myself. So we were on a walk. One of the things you could do is, like we talked about, have him sit every time you cross the street. Tell him to sit before you start preparing his food. Tell him to sit before you put his food down. Tell him to sit before you attach the leash. You should also remember, practice leashing him up and then not going anywhere. Leash him up and walk to your fence, and then come back in and take the leash off. So try to do that multiple times before you're taking him for a walk. And when you're going for a walk, don't say, you want to go for a walk? Just walk to where it is. Remember, if he races down the stairs ahead of you, turn around and walk back upstairs. You guys are both in great shape. It will help your quads and your delts and all that fun stuff, but it just desensitizes. As soon as I run in front of them, it's not a dominance thing, it's just an overexcitement thing. I want him to understand, just sometimes they go up and down. Also remember, if you're walking around your house and he's gonna follow you, say, let's go. Try not to use it on walks for about 2 weeks. But after a while, if you say, let's go on a walk, he's gonna pop that nose up and go. But try to let him sniff as much as he can, because sniffing burns more energy on a walk, is more fun for him, and it also prevents him from looking for the boogie dog. Once a walk, every block, do a find it game. Find it, toss a treat, yes when he gets it, or you can use your clicker. And then try to look for some long grass or weeds or something where he's gonna have to sniff a little bit for it. So do that every walk, so that when you do get in a situation where there's another dog, you can cross the street and do a scatter or throw treats. He's sniffing the ground, the other dog walks by. Now I also do something, I didn't get a chance to go over it with you guys, but I'm gonna describe it now. It's called the find it away. So let's say that I'm Taz, and there's a dog that's walking down the street here, and like let's say we happen to have a yard here, not very often in Venice, but so I'm looking at them, I touch a treat and then drop it right here. And as Taz, I get it, and then I touch a treat with another one, and I drop it about a foot here. I go and get this one, then I do the same thing, 2 feet away, then 4 feet away, and then 5 feet away. I just moved Taz 15 feet away from the street, giving the other dog the opportunity to pass by, and he's looking for those treats. Practice this, practice the U-turns once a block. So he just gets used to doing 5 find-its, 1 at a time, and a U-turn, and then walk 12 paces, another U-turn, and keep going. That way you have a couple of outs if you need them. Let me see, what else? Exercise him before a walk. That can create more more benefit set you up for success. If you're gonna go work on the engage disengage game, remember it's very intense, and that'll be the video above. But when you're doing that, practice for like 2 to 4 minutes, then walk away so that you're far enough away that he doesn't have to look, or he's just relaxed, and just let him sit and pet him and just let him relax, roll in the grass or do whatever it is for 5 minutes or so. Come back and do it again, back and forth, back and forth. I usually only do maybe like 7 to 10 minutes of actual engagement. The rest of the time is those breaks between. If we push too far, they're gonna get cranky, and that's when mistakes happen. Let me see, we also went over some other creative forms of exercise. I would get a snuffle mat. The one that I like is the RUNDICK. It's gray, it has a band around it, and there's a rectangular one, the smaller one is for smaller breed dogs. Put his kibble in there. You can wash those things after a couple weeks if it gets nasty, but that makes feeding him like a short walk. The orange ball that I showed you is the Omega Paw Tricky Trainer Treat Ball. You can put that the kibble in it. You have to roll it for him the first couple times, and then say yes every time he licks it up. And after a while, he's going to start nudging that thing around like he's a little soccer player. You can put that thing down when guests are here. He's looking for them instead of doing other things. Let me say, tug of war is a great way to burn energy. We also started off the session by adding in some structure for fetch. He was bringing me this little thing, or whatever that other teal thing was. And sometimes when dogs, it was a salamander at one point. So, now it's a silent salamander. Yeah. When dogs bring you something, sometimes they want you to have their toy because they appreciate you. They want to bring you a gift. Sometimes they want you to play tug of war. Sometimes they want you to throw the thing. It's hard to sometimes figure out which ones those are. So what you can do is when he brings it, hold the treat. If he drops it, say yes and give him a treat. Ask him for a sit. Then when he sits, then say fetch as you throw it. He goes and gets it. When he brings it back to you, yes, I have your little thing, don't I? You're like, yes, oh yes, I gotta bite your head. So sit. And again, a lure to sit is raising his head up. Yeah, that was you pouncing. That's not what we're talking about. Sit. This is I want to play tug of war. This is also I'm a little tired because I've been working for 3 hours. And that's fine, and there's nothing wrong with playing tug of war. Tug, 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 tug. And then I want to incorporate a drop. So I'm going to let him and I'm getting a treat. I'm going to say, drop, yes. Notice how I didn't move the object. He gets to go right back to playing tug, tug, tug. Well, I don't want to rip the ear. And then drop, Yes. So that's incorporating a drop is really important. So we don't want to let his energy level get too high. And then if you want to play fetch, well, he's trying to go for it. So I'm not going to play the game this way. So if I want to play fetch, I'm going to have him hold the treat, and I could say sit, yes. Now I would tell him to sit if he wasn't already, and I say fetch. He goes to get it. I reach for another treat. He's being a goofy dog. And I'm not saying anything, I'm not enticing him, but when he comes back to me, if he does, then I hold the treat to his nose, he drops it, and I say yes and the treat. But after a while, when you know he's gonna drop it, hold the treat up, say drop, and then hold the treat up. Remember, there's 4 components to a cue. There's the cue or the label, sit. There's the action, the dog's sitting. There's number 3 is the marker word or the clicker to tell him he did the thing we wanted. Number 4 is the reward. But when we're teaching him to do something, we say the word last, not last. We say the word after the dog already knows the behavior. So at first we're just going to lure the dog into position, then eventually we'll get in the habit of saying the word, we sneak the cue in before the action. So before I even throw it, I say fetch, then I throw it. Let me see, we also went over hand targeting. I have a video on that one if you forget how to do that. Practice that one and get to the point where you can call him from upstairs to downstairs. And it's a great way to reposition him. It's an alternative recall. It's also something you can do to tell if guests, if he wants to interact with guests. If he jumps up on me and his head is here, and I say boop, he's got to go down here off of me to get the treat, or the affection. Let me see. So there we go. So right now his guardian is asking him to sit. He wasn't sitting. Remember, ask him once. If he doesn't, then the guardian just leaned back. He took the toy away. Now Taz has more motivation. Now remember, half of how dogs learn is not being rewarded when they do something. Yep, and you're gonna anticipate. Let's talk a little bit about body language. So dogs are normally what I call wiggly and jiggly. Now right now the guardian here is ignoring him because he wants the toy. His guardian's asking him to sit and he's not sitting. So this is essentially a temper tantrum. Who blinks first wins. So right now we don't have to worry about neighbors. So and he heard that little boom, he sat down. Now you can say yes and throw it. Yes. Or give him a treat. So we outlasted him there. And when he finally did what we wanted, he got a reward, and his blustering didn't impact us at all. So try not to even look at him when he's doing that. I know it's hard. All that stuff, I'm getting to him. So, all right, let me see, what else? I'm trying to think what else we want to go over. Trying to think of other things. We covered a lot.
We talked about the corner game.
Oh, the cookie in the corner. I have a video for that one if you want as well. What you do is you throw one treat, you say find it, then throw a treat. When he looks it up, you say yes. And then, and normally you don't say yes when he gets the treat, but in this case, getting the treat is what we want. So then then we say come, he comes back to us, we say yes and give him a second treat. Then we throw 2 treats. Yes, yes, come, 1 treat, yes. Throw 3 treats. Yes, 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 come, 1 treat. You work up to throwing 5 treats. Eventually, when he's away, you hide 5 treats over there on the baseboard. And then you say, find it, and he goes over and starts searching the ground. This is the same thing you want to do outside on walks. So now he's ready to sniff and he's looking for good stuff as opposed to looking for the dog that we don't want him to interact with. Now I also went over the knocking at the door, the counter conditioning and desensitization. Don't practice any more shaking because right now he's scratching. His guardian is doing a good job of not doing it. And if he has hard nails, you get a Dremel. You can take the hard edges off so doesn't have those scrape marks. The counter conditioning the door. Message me. I don't want to spend too much time in this video going over that, but I have other videos I can go through that with you. But remember, the most important thing is the stimulus is low enough where he doesn't react, and then we give him a treat. If he reacts, let him settle down, then knock quieter, or make whatever reproduce it quieter, then give him a treat and gradually work your way up until eventually it's full bore and he's not barking, he's looking around for something. Now, since we have the elevated deal up here and he likes to bark at people downstairs, I would find a time of the day when it's convenient for your schedules, when you know a lot of people are walking by, and I'm guessing like 4:30 to 6:30, 7 o'clock is probably gonna be prime time. Get a thing of cream cheese, a low container, freeze it, then go out there with him. Practice. So when you see somebody coming like the dog, he's licking at it before he gets close enough to feel the need to react to the dog. He's licking. As soon as the dog is out of sight, he loses his ability to lick that. Licking releases the feel-good endorphins, oxytocin, serotonin. We're pairing looking at dogs and getting something. You can also, and having something good happen. You can also use a spoon with peanut butter or cream cheese or frozen yogurt. What I was going for before I got distracted was his body language. So dogs are normally wiggly and jiggly. Stiff and still is a big warning. Dogs often, this is the most common way that a dog's gonna say, I'm on high alert. They're like, ha ha ha. They close their mouth, they lower their head, they stare, and they get stiff and still. You see your dog doing that, you wanna redirect your dog and get your dog away from whatever that thing is. Dogs go from level 1, the stare, usually the first thing, to level 10 is going crazy. Most of the time, we see them going crazy as the first step. We need to do a better job of reading him so that we know what his tells are, and as soon as he gives his first indication he's uncomfortable, we increase the distance. When he's lunging at another dog, he wants the other dog to go away. He wants more space between you. If you call him away, you accomplish the same thing. Dogs just don't think about that. They're very front-facing. We also went over a consent lesson. I have a video on that one if you want to go over that, but just remember not to start petting him on top of the head, pet him underneath. Let me see, for the body language. Is he breathing heavy? Is he holding his breath, or is he breathing really normally? What are his ears? His ears are hard to see because he's so shaggy. I usually look at where they're carrying their ears. Their eyes, how hard, unblinking, staring, open eyes, and Aussies kind of have these, is usually not a good sign. How much tension does he have in his face? Is his mouth open or closed? I would talk about his tail, but he's an Aussie. He doesn't have one. His lean though, is he leaning towards something? Is he leaning away from it? Is he barking and then moving backwards? Is he barking and moving forwards? Those are all can be indications for dogs. So when dogs are uncomfortable, the things to watch for: eyes big and unblinking and hard stare, tension in their face, staring directly at something, freezing, lowering themselves, baring its teeth and growling are pretty obvious. The Guardians, I don't think do this here. Don't ever correct your dog for growling, ever. You'll eventually be successful. Your dog won't growl, it'll go straight to a bite. A growl tells me I'm uncomfortable or I disagree, or the dog says I'm uncomfortable or disagree. My job then is to move the dog away. So what I like you guys to do is, when he's relaxed at home, he's not relaxed right now, he's being an Aussie, but when he's completely relaxed, we want to look, how does he carry his face? How do his eyes look? How does his face look? How is his breathing? How is his stance? Is his posture wiggly and jiggly or stiff and still? I want to identify neutral. And he's about to sit. There we go. So now you can mark and reward that. Now, we'll talk about this. I'll come back to the body language. So he's barking and demanding attention. We could have petted him. He just sat down. But this is an either or scenario because he's still offering this unwanted behavior. I think at this point he's doing it because he's tired. He has a guest that's staying here, so it's a little bit different. I've been here for 3 hours. I won't shut up. We just got done going on a walk. He's tired. He's cranky. Right there, his guardian waited for him to stop barking. He was silent for a second. He said yes and gave him a treat. I would have probably done a touch or something like that, but that was okay because we waited for him to do it. But try not to even look at him when he does this. This is just a temper tantrum. All right, so getting back to the body language. When you or your partner come home, watch him. So first what I do is I do it when the dog's relaxed. How does his eyes look? How does his face look? How does his ears look? His breathing and all that. So now I know what neutral is. Then when one of you guys comes home, how do his ears change? How does his face change? How does his wiggling, his stance, his breathing? Now we've categorized neutral. Now we've categorized excited. Now, when we see differences between either one of those, we got to anticipate, what is this? Is this he's anxious, he's fearful, he's playful, or whatever it is? Now, one of the things I mentioned in the video, I don't know if I mentioned the video above, sometimes I'll have somebody filming the dog while we're doing the engage, disengage game, or walks, or whatever it is. So you can watch it on your big screen TV when you come home, and then see, before he barked at that dog, he kind of ducked his head down, his ears went back, and then he kind of did this, and then he lunged. So then you see those indications, and you call him away before the lunge. He doesn't have to do that, and he's practicing not doing it. Now remember, there's really two things that we're trying to do when it comes to behavior modification for dog. Pillar A is avoiding him practicing the unwanted behavior. Now, one of the guardians who was talking about, she was a little bit frustrated because this is such an urban environment, it's hard to avoid those things. But we can take precautions like driving him to the park, driving him to the north side of Montana or whatever it is, And that way we take away the variables. I cheat. When I want to behavior modification for dogs is not easy. It's not super hard, but it takes a lot of repetition. And every time you have something bad happens, that's the dog practicing something we don't want. What I want to do is for 3 months, have the dog not practice the unwanted behavior in a perfect scenario. 3 months, it does not have the opportunity to lunge another dog. I'm not giving it that opportunity. Where we're practicing going and looking at dogs and having good things happen. And after about 3 months, then the dog starts getting in a habit of dogs are a good thing. Skateboarders are a good thing. Looking at people coming by the house gets the dog, gets me to lick or whatever it is. Now, it's not always reasonable for us to do that, so just do it as best as you can. And try to also pick and choose your spots. Walking him at like 4:30 is probably going to be more likely to run into a lot of dogs. Now, when we were on the way there to and from the park, we were actually looking for dogs. But sometimes you're just in a mood, or you just got to get to the park real quick to play fetch, and you don't have time to do it. So again, try to be as mindful as you can. Maybe that might be a day if it's really busy to do some scent work in the house, to do some training in the house. Remember, exercise is best done every 2 to 4 hours, and you would like to alternate between physical exercise and mental stimulation. Feeding on a snuffle mat is mental stimulation. A sniff walk is a hybrid between the two of them. Tug of war is a great burning physical activity. Training is a good mental stimulation. There are a lot of DIY enrichment items and things that you can do. I'll describe one real quickly, but if you're on Facebook or just Google DIY dog enrichment. Cats love boxes, dogs have to learn to get them. When I do this, I never get a box that's taller than the dog, half of the dog's forearm. So what I do is get an empty, it was just Amazon Prime Day, get an empty Amazon box that's half the length of his leg. Have it open, fold the flaps over, just toss a treat in it. When he gets it, say yes. Just keep on doing that until he's sticking his head in there all the way. Cats will jump in there. Dogs, it takes a little practice. Maybe even a lower box if he's a little sketched out. And if it moves or that bothers him, put a weight or something in there so that it doesn't move around. So at first, you put his nose in the box and into that treat. Then I get a newspaper and I go to like Kinko's or Office Max and I cut it up into 3 sections. I call this doggy confetti. Pieces of paper that are about this big. Then I take a piece of paper, I put a kibble on the top of it, crumple a little bit, put another piece of kibble, crumple a little bit more, another piece of crumple, and I have like 5 or 6 of these wads with about 5 or 6. I put those in the box, then I put the rest of the paper, not all of it at once, but on top of it, then I sprinkle some treats in there. He's got to go in there and sniff and find those amongst all the newspaper or the paper, wrapping paper, whatever it is, and then he'll pull out the wad, and then teaches them, a lot of dogs that eat paper, I like to use this because they learn, I can eat the whole thing, but I can also unwrap and just get the good stuff. And this is a mental training exercise. Box enrichment is what we call it. Eventually you can start putting boxes inside of boxes, like a Russian nesting doll. And I have clients that have like a closet full of boxes preloaded, and you can use this kibble for this as well. But it gives them something to do. That's a nice mental stimulation thing you do inside if it's too busy, and we don't want them to practice barking at other dogs. Let me see, what else? Anything else you want me to go over?
No, I think we kind of covered everything. Like we said, it's just the conditioning indoors with barking, establishing boundaries, and rules essentially.
Yes.
And then I think working with the clicker outside in particular.
And training is remember, keep the training sessions like 1 minute at a time. Now engage, disengage is different because you're walking down there. So again, you need 3 minutes and 5 minutes in between, 3 minutes again. But when you're doing training session, he's so smart. The more things you teach him, the easier it is, the more things you can do to distract him. Also, there's a certain confidence level. You guys have worked in an industry where you guys have had to study and work and really apply yourselves to get to the level you're at now. I'm sure you guys carry a natural pride and self-esteem because of all the work that you put in. You bet on yourself and you're doing well now as a result. That promotes confidence, and confidence is a wonderful insulator. You can brush things off. Dogs that are more confident are less likely to be reactive. One study I read talked about when dogs know over 12 cues, they reach a certain level of kind of confidence. Most dogs have sit, come, down, potty, maybe a stay or a wait. Most dogs are only about 5 or 6. So yes, he's destroying his little bunny. So maybe find.
It's the brand new one. It's fine.
It's the brand new one. Yes,
it's fine.
already destroyed it. That's okay. Shredding is a normal behavior. You might get one of those Jolly Balls, like I said, and let him chew it up in little pieces. But the nice thing, the box enrichment I just told you about is a great way for him to do that, and it's paper in a box, so you don't care if he shreds it up. But keep the training sessions 1 minute each time and try to do it 3 times a day. And maybe you're working on the touch and maybe hurricane, which is just teaching him to do a spin. Touch a treat to his nose, lure him into a circle. When he finishes, say yes and give him a treat. This is the exercise I use for dogs that get humped, and I teach them to spin, and it dismounts the humper. And after a while, they can just do it themselves. It's a fun little trick, yes. Celebrate. But after a while, there's other tricks you can do. Teach him to go pick up a toy, clean up his toys, whatever it is. So if you do that, practice 3 times a day with that, that's mentally draining for him. Boosts his confidence, makes him a little bit, brush things off, increases his respect for us as a leader. It can be really beneficial. I'm not saying he has to be a great trick dog, but he's a smart dog. And so if we use the brain power that he has, we're kind of tapping into something that will help his self-esteem as well as have some other tangible benefits. So that's basically, I think, about it. Now, if you guys have any questions, please text or call me. If I don't hear from you, I assume that everything's going great. In my industry, I hear from people when there's a problem. Don't wait. If you have 2 questions, let me know. Send me videos of things that are going on. I can check your technique. I don't charge for any of that stuff. I want you guys to get good results. So you're one of the 101st 5-star review I have on Google. So don't hesitate, whether it's 5 minutes after I walk out the door or 5 months from now or 5 years from now, I'm here for you. Practice this stuff, and then if you have questions, just let me know. But besides that, I mean, he's a smart boy. I think you guys will, if you do it right, what typically happens is like next summer, you're like, oh my God, remember when Taz used to be reactive to dogs? You almost like forget if you do it right. Keep a calendar, keep your score. Write your score and start setting goals for yourself and track it so you can start seeing it. But again, remember, it's not a linear process. You might have a day where you can get closer and the next day you got to move farther away. It's the long haul that we're looking at, not the overnight fix. Taz, can we interrupt you from destroying that for a quick second? Well, this is my buddy Taz, and this is Taz's roadmap to success. Remember, everything you do trains your dog, only sometimes you mean it.